Everyone is competing with something, and that's okay. Competition is a good thing. Not the kind that makes us bitter, the kind that makes us better. So we're proud to support Connacht, Leinster, Munster and Ulster Rugby. While most folks share for one, we support all 4 provinces. Because we live and work in all 4. And round here, competition is a good friend. It fuels us, connects us, pushes us past whatever stands in our way. And when we fall on the pitch or off it, it picks us up and reminds us, once you begin, you must never stop competing.
Hello and a very warm welcome to UCD, which is of course the home of the Leinster Rugby branch. This evening we will host 2 draws for the Bank of Ireland Leinster Rugby Metropolitan Cup here in front of me, and to the right the Provincial Towns Cup. This year we'll celebrate 100 years of the Metropolitan Cup, while the trophy to its right, the Provincial Towns Cup, is in its 95th edition, with Blackrock College the first name inscribed on that famous trophy. Over the last 20 months, it's of course been a very difficult time for everyone in society, and we felt that in Leinster Rugby as well, with very little games or action being played in our clubs, in our communities and of course in our schools. Over the last couple of weeks though, we have seen an uplift in terms of the news and the positivity that we've had in and around Leinster and indeed throughout Ireland, and we're looking forward hugely to the launch of these 2 tournaments on the 5th of March and indeed on the 12th of March. Before we get any further with our draws, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Bank of Ireland. Again, over the last 20 months, it has been a really difficult time for the partners and sponsors of Leinster Rugby, but Bank of Ireland have been unstinting in their support of the domestic rugby programme. Ordinarily, we'd love to be in their company for this draw. The draw would usually happen in around a big game in Aviva, but unfortunately that isn't to be the case. But I would like to thank the team, Paula, Gemma, Sam and Sharon, for all their help in terms of everything we do here in the Leinster Rugby branch. Before we focus on the draws, I would like to thank a couple of people, and indeed the competitions committee here in Leinster Rugby, for their stellar work in making sure that this evening's draw goes well, but indeed that the competition plays out well over the next couple of months. To Fergus, to Bill and indeed to Dermot O'Mahony, who will be here with us this evening to make sure that everything runs smoothly. Thank you so very much. To everyone involved in the Leinster Rugby branch, in particular Lisa Doyle and Stephen Jemison, who have been kept very busy in the lead up to the draws today. And finally, to those here with us this evening, partners of Leinster Rugby, media partners of Leinster Rugby, Videos on the Net, who are broadcasting this launch for us this evening, and indeed Sportsfile, who will be covering it with photography, and indeed will be covering photography from across the rounds of the Metropolitan Cup and indeed the Provincial Towns Cup. So that's my thank yous done. Let's get stuck into the draws.
Once you begin, you must never stop competing. Because competition makes us stronger, helps us push past whatever stands in our way.
Our first draw this evening is the Bank of Ireland Leinster Rugby Metropolitan Cup draw, and the Metropolitan Cup was first played for in 1922 and was won by UCD. So in its 100th year anniversary, I think it's suitable that we have 2 UCD men here to my right in Ross Maloney and Rory O'Loughlin. Ross, if I can start with you first. Look, it's been a brilliant couple of weeks, I suppose, in terms of the European campaign for Leinster, but no player gets to that stage without having a good foundation, and the club game is the foundation for every player.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's hugely important. You see lads going up through the age ranges and working their way into clubs and you know, setting a marker down there in the AIL, and you know, it plays a huge factor in the players' development. You even see some of our senior players going back to play this season, you know, so that you can't take away how hugely important it is.
Rory, for your own pathway, I think Minis and Bective, then obviously Old Belvedere and the role that they played with UCD, obviously now with Leinster, Irish Captain, etc., and obviously huge foundation laid down in those early days.
Yeah, definitely, especially in Minis. I suppose that's where I found my love for rugby, I suppose, when I was 9, 10, playing there every Sunday, and then went into UCD for 2 years, played under 20s with them, with a lot of my good friends from school, and made new mates there, and we won a good few trophies at under 20s, and then got a taste of the All-Ireland League, I suppose, when I moved to Belva and played 2 or 3 good seasons with them. So I have great memories of club scene, and I would go back and play if I was asked to again, but I haven't yet. So.
Time enough, Flacco. Give it time. Ross, you mentioned it already about some of the lads over the last while, and in particular with the new URC season and just things being tinkered with a little bit with the schedule. A lot of lads going back to their clubs, playing for their clubs, and then getting opportunities then with Leinster Rugby.
Yeah, it just shows that if the lads impress in those club games, that people are watching, and then with the way the season's planned out now with these couple of games. During the international window, lads are getting their chances, so it just shows the importance of the club matches.
Massive block coming up, Rory. Obviously, Europe has been well parked now, and it's a block that we didn't expect to have as many games, but with the postponements with COVID now, there is a full schedule to look forward to during the Six Nations, and it's a time for Leinster to get back up and running and get as many points as they can. Yeah,
definitely. I think during November it was strange for the players left behind from Irish camp, as there's no real games. So we were just training kind of without the game at the end of the week. So, the postponements were quite disappointing at the time. It's kind of worked out that we have a lot of games coming up now, and we have a good squad left behind here that are looking forward to playing and haven't played too much, I suppose. So it's a big 6 weeks, and I'm really looking forward to getting back into it.
Well, great stuff. Really appreciate, Ross and Rory, your time here this evening. And we are going to get stuck into the draw now. And again, the competition, the Metropolitan Cup, it's open to both first team and J1 teams of 16 Metropolitan area senior and Leinster League clubs. The draw, it's fairly straightforward. We've got 16 teams in the draw, so it's going to be fairly straightforward. First team out, home draw. Second team out, away draw. UCD are in there, so the two UCD boys are going to make sure that you do give it a good shake. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind starting us off, lads. Rory, maybe if you can start us off. Good shake. Dermot O'Mahony is at the back of the room just to keep an eye on everything to make sure that everything is above board. And Rory O'Loughlin will get us underway with the first team, the home team, out of the draw for the first round of the Bank of Ireland Leinster Rugby Metropolitan Cup.
Turnier College.
RFC. Lovely. And they will play.
Wesley, RFC.
Thank you, Ross. Rory, next up, please.
Lansdowne FC.
And Lansdowne will host.
Greystones, RFC.
Over to you again, please, Rory.
Old Belvedere, RFC.
Old Belvedere, RFC will host.
Bective Rangers, FC.
Thank you, Ross. Rory, over to you, please.
Dublin University FC.
So Dublin University FC, the reigning champions, they won the trophy just there in October, beating Turnier College 16-3. Felix Campbell scoring the only try of that game. And they will host
Monkstown FC.
Monkstown FC.
Suttonians, RFC.
And Suttonians will host
Sea Point.
Over to you, Rory.
Blackrock College, RFC.
Blackrock College will host
MU Barnall, RFC.
MU Barnhall, RFC. Important to note as well that any losers in the round one will be entered into the Metropolitan Plate competition. Sorry, Roy, you can crack on. You don't have to wait.
Wanderers FC.
Thank you. And Wanderers FC will play
Clontarf FC.
Thank you, Ross. And one final round. And if everything is going to plan, it should be UCD and St Mary's. So who is the home team?
St Mary's College, RFC.
So the last round in the Bank of Ireland Leinster Rugby Metropolitan Cup will be St Mary's at home against UCD. So there you have it, folks. That is the full draw for the Bank of Ireland Leinster Rugby Metropolitan Cup. It's there on the screen in front of you. It kicks off on the 12th of March, and there will be a unique medal and pennant will be presented to the winning teams to mark the centenary of this prestigious club competition, and the final will be held in Energia Park.
Round here, competition is a good friend. It pulls you out of bed, hands you coffee, it reminds you, once you begin, you must never stop competing.
And welcome back to UCD. So with the Bank of Ireland Leinster Rugby Metropolitan Cup draw put safely behind us, we're now going to move on to the Provincial Towns Cup. And before we get into the main event, we are going to focus on the Seconds Cup. 26 teams in total went into the draw drum, and that draw was done earlier on this evening in UCD. Again, Dermot O'Mahony, our independent adjudicator, was in the room for that draw. 6 teams were pulled out and they go straight into the second round, and those 6 teams are Naas, Newbridge, Kildare, Kilkenny, Dundalk and finally Clondalkin. And after that then it was 20 teams with 10 first round draws, and you can see those rounds now on the screen in front of you, with Longford taking on Boyne, Northmeath Athboy taking on Clane, Wicklow against Rathdrum, Tullow against North Kildare, Ashburn against Portlaoise, Mullingar against Edenderry, New Ross against Wexford Wanderers, Gorey against RD, County Carlow hosting Birr, and finally Port Arlington against Athy. So there is the full draw for the Bank of Ireland Leinster Rugby Provincial Towns Seconds Cup draw for 2022.
Once you begin, you must never stop competing. Because competition makes us stronger, helps us push past whatever stands in our way.
Welcome back. So to the second of this evening's draw, and of course that is the 95th edition of the Bank of Ireland Leinster Rugby Provincial Towns Cup draw, and what an iconic and beautiful trophy that's sitting here in front of us this evening. The competition was first established in 1888, but this trophy wasn't bought until 4 years later for the pricely sum of £25. For Kieran and for Vac here beside me, they've never even heard of pounds. They're far younger than I am, but that was a lot of money back then. So the trophy is still going strong, and it's great that we have it here with us this evening as we get stuck into the draw. It was initially called the Leinster Junior Cup, but not before being christened the Provincial Towns Cup in 1926, and so it has remained ever since. Blackrock College won the first ever Junior Cup, but the last instalment of that was won by Enniscorthy. They won this trophy then for the first time, and indeed they are our reigning champions from 2019. So maybe the omens are still looking good for Enniscorthy this year. As I said, I have Kieran Frawley and Vac Abdeladze here with me to my right. And gentlemen, first of all, congratulations. It's been a really positive couple of weeks, couple of months, I suppose, for Leinster Rugby, and in particular on the European front, Kieran. I know there was, well, what would we call it, COVID complications in and around Christmas time, but you knew what you had to do in those last 2 rounds of the pool, get as many points as you could, and you've done that, and now Connacht is ahead of you a little bit further down the line.
Yeah, 100%. It was very frustrating, obviously, not to play that Montpellier game away. We had our 23 to go, but yeah, so we couldn't get over, and yeah, it was last minute. So I think there was a few lads that were buzzing to go. There was a few young names on the team sheet as well that would have loved to get over. So yeah, then we obviously had the few games postponed, and it ended up being quite a long period of time without a game. So to bounce back in the RDS, and I know it was only 5,000 people there, but they were brilliant support, and to get the win against Montpellier and to put that kind of scoreline on them was unbelievable. And then to back it up, I suppose, was the most impressive thing in the rec. So yeah, and then obviously Vac getting his Champions Cup debut was brilliant. So yeah, look, you can't complain.
Vac, you were one of those young lads that Kieran referenced that was supposed to be on that flight over to Montpellier. Maybe he wasn't referring to you then, Vac. So you had to be a little bit more patient for that European debut, but you did get it there a couple of weeks ago over in the Rec. I mean, it must be such a special feeling, getting the nod from Leo early in the week, and then the build-up and finally pulling on a Leinster jersey in a European match.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. I was trying to stay as relaxed as possible during the week, but nerves do creep in as it would during a game like that. But no, like I was delighted to make such a special debut, make my family proud, and like everyone who supported me along the journey proud. It was a special moment, really.
Obviously, this evening is all about the club competition, and for yourself, Coolmine would have played a huge role in the early part of your career, and then obviously lately Clontarf.
Yeah, no, Coolmine were like massive support to me, and like still were like to my little brother playing there, and my dad is still going around in the club, and like they're always there for me if I need like training facilities or anything to use during the pre-season or anything like that. And yeah, with Clontarf, it's been a big step up as playing AIL, winning an AIL with them, and also losing AIL with them. Also a bit of a roller coaster there, but like playing the minutes and playing AIL rugby week in week out was enjoyable as well at the start of the season.
Kieran, your own journey, Skerries of course is central to that journey.
Yeah, obviously I came all the way through Skerries. Myself and Vac would have been obviously the club section, which is there's only very few of us in here, but yeah, it was brilliant. Skerries were, as Vac said, very supportive as well to me, and still are. Like if I wanted to go back, we had a week off and use the facilities, you'd be able to. So yeah, came the whole way through there, and then into UCD, played there, and came into the academy from that. So yeah, Skerries was brilliant. It was competitive, and it's what you needed to get to the final stage. And
you've both mentioned or referenced, I suppose, the journeys you've come on and where you two kind of came together then, which is in the Shane Horgan Cup competitions. And obviously the Shane Horgan Cup is on at the moment, as is the Sarah Robinson Cup. That bringing together and representing your area for the first time, I mean, like it's the first stepping stone towards the jerseys that you're now wearing, but I mean, crucial that pathway and that journey and that bringing together is there.
Yeah, like yes, like that kind of metro stage is massive, because like it's your kind of first taste of the competitiveness that it is in rugby, and to make it through to become a professional. For me again, it was starting metro. I think you were northeast. So like again, playing against each other, 12 at the time. We ended up playing 10-12 at the youth trials at one stage. Yeah. So bit different now. But no, it's definitely like when you start making your way through the stages, and like the numbers dwindle quite a bit, like from stage to stage. So it's quite competitive, and that's where you kind of get that first bit of taste. You
didn't fancy a switch into the front row for also?
I didn't know he was eating all my food, so now look at him now, look at me.
Listen, finally, gents, before we get stuck into the draw, I know that's what everyone at home is waiting for, but Kieran, you know, nobody was expecting really this block of games during the Six Nations, but it's there now, and it's just a massive window to pick up as many points in the URC as possible for Leinster.
Yeah, look, like speaking to the lads in over the Autumn Nations kind of series, they were saying it was a long kind of few weeks because there was no games, and I think the best thing for the lads now is that they have the games, and especially younger lads being able to put their best foot forward, and they're competitive games as well. So it's just really important now we put ourselves in a brilliant place for the lads when they come back, and keep really holding on to that jersey, and then hopefully kicking on for the bigger games when the likes of Connacht come for that last 16 of Europe. And yeah, that's what our goal is at the moment, just get as many points out of this block of games and put ourselves in the best position. Well,
one game down in this block, best luck in the rest of the games. Obviously there's a big chunk of those games that are at home in the RDS, so very best of luck to Kieran and to Vac, and indeed to the wider Leinster Rugby squad in the coming weeks. So we'll crack into the draw now, please, gentlemen, and fairly straightforward again this evening. There's 28 names in total in competition for the Bank of Ireland Leinster Rugby Provincial Towns Cup draw, but there's 4 buys, so we've got 24 teams in this drum, so we'll have 12 first round draws essentially. I suppose outline who those teams in the with the buys, into the second round are, and that is Ashbourne, Dundalk, Gorey and Kilkenny. But the other 24 names are in the drum. Dermot O'Mahony is still here with us, and he's keeping an eye on proceedings. So without further ado, Vac, if you can start us off, and the first team out will be a home draw, and then second team will be away for that draw. So maybe just give it a shake there, Vac. Thank you.
Carlo.
So County Carlow first out of the draw, and they will have home advantage. And of course Carlow are top of the pile with 12 wins. After you, Kieran. So they will face
Longford RFC.
So Carlow against Longford, the first tie in the first round of the Bank of Ireland Leinster Rugby Provincial Towns Cup draw. Over to you, back.
Wexford Wanderers.
Thank you, back. And they will face
Boyne RFC.
Thank you, Kieran. Over to you, Vec.
Eden Derry RFC.
Just as well we have Dermot in the room to keep an eye on proceedings for us this evening. All going to plan so far, Dermot? So Eden Derry will play.
Kildare RFC.
Kildare. Over to you, Vec.
Enniscorthy.
And then Enniscorthy will play.
Mullingar RFC.
Clondalkin RFC.
And Clondalkin will host.
Portlaoise RFC.
Back to you again, please, Vec.
Wicklow RFC.
And Wicklow will host.
Naas seconds.
So Wicklow, the defeated finalists from 2019, will host Naas.
New Ross RFC.
And New Ross will host.
Tullow RFC.
Arklow RFC.
And Arklow will play.
Tullamore seconds.
Navan.
And Navan will host.
Roscrea RFC.
North Kildare RFC.
And North Kildare will play.
Scaries.
I mightn't thank you for that away draw though, Crowell, so
sorry, lads.
it's not all positive.
One job.
Balbriggan, RFC.
Balbriggan will be at home and they will play
Athy RFC.
Lovely. And the final draw of the evening. Who's home? Midlands or Newbridge?
Newbridge, RFC.
Newbridge at home, and all going well, Kieran? Fingers crossed. They will face
Midlands Warriors RFC.
Brilliant. Kieran and Vac, thank you so much. That is now in front of you on the screen, the 95th edition of the Bank of Ireland Leinster Rugby Provincial Towns Cup draw. 28 entrants in total, with 4 with a bye into the second round, those being Ashburn, Dundalk, Gorey and Kilkenny. The 12 games will be kicking off on the 5th of March, and of course we'd like to wish all the teams competing the very best of luck.
Round here, competition is a good friend. It pulls you out of bed, hands you coffee, then reminds you, once you begin, you must never stop competing.
So there you have it. That concludes this evening's proceedings from UCD in the Bank of Ireland Leinster Rugby Metropolitan Cup and Provincial Towns Cup. We'd all like to wish all the competing teams and coaches the very best of luck in the coming weeks and months, with the competition in the Provincial Towns Cup due to kick off on the 5th of March and in the Metropolitan Cup on the 12th of March. Again, I'd like to sincerely thank Fergus Flanagan, Bill Duggan, Dermot O'Mahony, Lisa Doyle and everyone who helped in this evening's production. I'd like to thank Kieran, I'd like to thank Vac, I'd like to thank Ross and Rory for their time and expertise in conducting such smooth and efficient draws. And it's, I suppose after that it's just about wishing the teams the very best of luck and seeing if Dublin University FC, if Ashburn and if Enniscorthy can retain their titles that they won over the last couple of years. So from everyone here in UCD, Gurmila Mahagriv, Thread Yvhain, Slán Tama.
Everyone is competing with something. So whether it's on or off the pitch, once you begin, you must never stop competing.
Today is the second round of our under-17 Shane Horgan Cup. Generally this competition happens at under-16s, but this year because of COVID these players missed out on the Euro Rugby, so we're doing it now at under-17s. We've got 5 areas in our club's pathway. We've got the North East, we've got the Midlands, we've got the North Midlands, we've got Metro, and then we've got the South East. It's a real Leinster Rugby effort in the areas. So it all starts with, I suppose, the CCRO in the club, who identifies the players from an early age. They then feed into the community rugby officers and the coach and player development officers who lead the programme in the area. So that's how the player is identified, and then they all come together.
We have, over the last 4 to 5 seasons, started to deliver a programme in our areas. This has begun to link in with our representative sides. We will be, for the first time this season, playing a competition equivalent to our Shane Horgan competition for the girls. They'll actually be playing on the same week as the Shane Horgan competition is taking place. Again, it is part of, and an integral part of what is our new girls development pathway, which will link into our senior representative pathway, which will then link into the national representative pathway. So we've spent a lot of time and effort in our areas, but more so in our clubs, developing a very good programme for our girls at 14s, 16s and 18s, and that has allowed us now to develop a area programme which we can then link into our adult representative programme. The pathways are part of the overall plan for Leinster Rugby to bring players from all 12 counties of of Leinster into the Leinster professional environment. And this pathway that we have currently, and you can see taking place in the match, is an integral part of that from Leinster Rugby's point of view. The fruits of I suppose our work have been seen this season in the likes of Jamie Osborne, Greg McGrath performing, Marcus Hannon, Tim Corkery, all playing for Leinster seniors. So it's been a huge success in terms of bringing our players through. You know, we have over 20 players from this pathway involved in professional rugby in Ireland currently. So, I mean, that in itself is a true indicator of the success of the programme. It's very important that we deliver on our stated aims within Leinster, and this is part of that.